Hello, I'm Carrie Pallas, a PhD student at Liberty University. This presentation will share research that I conducted during spring of 2020 for a course on human performance technology. This research considers the potential application of human performance technology to address contemporary issues in online learner attrition. In this presentation, I will discuss the growing field of online learning attrition rates, human performance technology in use today with educational technology, models in use today to address rates of online attrition, and potential for use of human performance technology to address online learner attrition. Online learning. Online learning is a term that's used synonymously with electronic or e-learning. This form of learning is computer-based and it combines the cognitive processes for acquiring knowledge with technology tools, all to promote learning. Online learning is typically conducted via the internet. In this presentation today, I will not use the terms e-learning, I will use the term online learning. In 2010, more than 6 million students were taking at least one course online, and that number has been increasing steadily at a rate of 10% per year. According to Chernev in 2019, 49% of college students worldwide had taken an online class in 2018. The U.S. market for online learning is estimated to reach $15.86 billion in 2021. Online learning encompasses both formal and informal learners. Formal learners are those people who are studying to earn a credential or a degree or to maintain a credential. Informal learners are people who are just learning for the sake of learning. There's not actually a credential or a degree associated with their learning. We've established that there is definitely interest in online learning. That interest elevated to a level of demand in the spring of 2020. In response to the 2019 novel coronavirus, more than 1,100 colleges and universities in all 50 states canceled in-person classes or shifted to a 100% online learning modality. This demonstrated a need for online classes. This demonstrated need should further drive the quest to better understand the reason that rates for online learner attrition is higher than that of students in a traditional face-to-face class. Let's take a moment to talk about the difference between attrition for online learners and traditional face-to-face learners. According to the National Student Clearinghouse, 16% of students who enrolled in college for the first time in the fall of 2017 did not persist as a student into the fall of 2018. The attrition rate for learners who are studying online is even higher. In 2016, BAWA calculated that online attrition rates ranged between 10 and 20%, with 40 to 80% of students who take an online class dropping a class. Berg and Wang stated that the lack of retention or dropout has historically challenged educational systems and seems to be especially acute in distance learning. Distance learning is another term that people use synonymously with online learning. So let's take a minute here and explain the difference between attrition, persistence, and dropout. These are some key terms that you'll hear used in this presentation: attrition, dropout, retention, and persistence. Attrition is a measured decline in the total number of students at the conclusion of the course, the conclusion of the program, or at the conclusion of the semester. Dropout is slightly different. Dropout is the intentional abandonment of a course of study. The terms are sometimes used interchangeably. Retention, this is continued participation in a learning event or to completion. In higher education, this could be completing the course, completing a program, completing a degree. Persistence. Persistence is continued participation or engagement in a learning event in progress. So persistence could be staying online for the entire class, or persistence could be attending all of the classes to complete the course for this semester. When it comes to attrition, there are several key factors that may be contributing to the reason people stop. Course design, circumstantial variables, and learner characteristics can all play a role. As we noted, Berg and Wang found that the lack of retention is especially acute for distance learning. In his analysis of undergraduate degree completion rates from 1880 to 1980, the researcher Tinto found that rates of higher education student attrition have remained strikingly constant over the past 100 years at a rate of 45%. More than 3 decades after Tinto's study, the problem of retention persists in higher education generally, and it's even more concerning with distance learning. And as we've seen the expressed demand for distance learning, there's no greater time than now to address this. A substantial body of information exists on factors that are associated with student retention, along with various models and tools in use to assess, to predict, and to improve retention rates. This information, however, is generally related to students in face-to-face or traditional classrooms. It might not be directly applicable to students in an online learning environment. Factors that affect online learning environment include course design, as well as institutional variables and characteristics of the learners themselves. These factors, all 3 of them, are complex and evolving. When we look at specific research to address rates of attrition in online learning, we can look at research into massive open online courses, or MOOCs. Research was conducted of 221 MOOCs across 78 institutions, and they found that the average rate of attrition was 22%. Student completion rates varied actually from 0.7% to 52.1%. The median value was 12.6%. These completion rates are noted to vary based on course length, with longer length courses having higher attrition rates. Start date, with more recent courses having lower attrition rates. And assessment format, with auto-graded assignments where students get immediate grade feedback, having lower attrition rates than courses that are designed where a student turns in an assignment and then has to wait to receive the grade. Online MOOC completion rates are generally low. Their average, again, is 22%. This review suggests that course design might be modified to improve retention rates. Another study conducted at the University of Oviedo again looked at attrition for online learners. This study, conducted in 2019 by Rodriguez Muniz, Fernando, Esteban, and Diaz, used a holistic approach to study the 2010 and 2011 freshman cohort at the university. They found that 12.6% of the students dropped out of school within the first 2 years. The work of these researchers shows that performance, or grades received in the first year of college, was the most important determining factor to indicate dropout. Additional factors identified by these researchers include whether or not the student was a part-time student, and that would imply that they had obligations outside of school to work or to family, and their age. Students entering age 23 and older had different rates than those that were younger. This study did not fully differentiate between online and on-campus learners, and there could have been some hybrid learners included. It's important to recognize that when we look at the results. A review of existing literature conducted by BAWA in 2016 explored issues related to online learning attrition as well as possible solutions. This researcher found that social, technological, and motivational issues from the faculty's and from the learners' perspectives might be affecting attrition rates. Key attrition issues related to student dropout included misconception related to cognitive load, social commitments and obligations, motivational status, technological factors, and faculty proficiency. Solutions to reduce online learner attrition suggested by this researcher include mandatory online orientation programs prior to courses beginning, social interaction opportunities, collaborative learning opportunities, and enhanced faculty training and support. A better understanding of online learners and why they might leave a course could help with mitigation issues. This researcher, it's important to note, also considered that the faculty could be contributing to the attrition rates unintentionally. Berg and Wang held that retention of online learners in higher education is a multidimensional phenomenon, and it will require a holistic approach that respects the relationships between the students, the faculty, factors, and circumstances, or the environment. Understanding the human performance technology process and its holistic approach, this author suggests that there's a potential application for human performance technology to address online learner attrition rates. Let's take a few minutes now to discuss the deliberate process that is human performance technology. Human performance technology incorporates both human and system performance. It is sometimes referred to as HPT. Human performance technology has a proven track record of successfully improving human performance across many industries, including education. HPT is a deliberate practice with a rigorous credentialing process. Certified HPT practitioners, called Certified Performance Technologists, or CPTs, are educated to use the formal HPT process to objectively identify performance gaps, to analyze root causes of performance gaps, to design interventions, implement interventions, and then evaluate the success of those interventions. During intervention implementation, these HPT experts will collaborate objectively with stakeholders, keeping the intervention dynamic and appropriate and fine-tuning it as necessary. This research that I'm sharing with you today will present the potential application for human performance technology in the design and the selection of appropriate online learner attrition prediction models for use by colleges and universities. As we just mentioned, human performance technology is a deliberate process with a series of steps: identifying a performance gap, analyzing root causes, designing interventions, implementing them, and evaluating the outcomes. Theories that were developed by Taylor, Skinner, Gilbert, Major, Harless, Goad, Rumler, and Brock, and Rosenberg effectively built upon each other and were coordinated to evolve into what we recognize today as human performance technology. The author O'Driscoll posits that human performance technology is the most effective method to drive human performance improvement. This design, human performance technology, is noted to be heavy with front-end analysis. According to Dean in 2016, the basic principle of psychology posits that behavior is a function of contributions from persons and also from the environment. By using this basic principle as a foundation, human performance technologists can note how the environment could be connected to performance. And when we talk about online learning, the environment could be the online learning environment. The front-end analysis that defines the gap between actual and desired performance and then informs intervention selection positions human performance technology to be valuable in learning environments where additional training might not always be the appropriate intervention. And again, thinking about online learning, additional training for the student and for the faculty might not be the only or the best intervention. Let's take a moment now and review a study that looked at high schools using human performance technology. In their study of performance improvement at 3 high schools in Afghanistan, Hashimi, Karimi, Ahanchian, and Chevalier, this was conducted in 2018, used human performance technology to answer 3 specific research questions. They wanted to know what is the actual and desired level of performance, what causes gaps in performance, and what types of interventions would be most appropriate to close those noted performance gaps. One of the performance issues that these researchers identified was an interesting number of student dropouts. They identified a decreasing but still concerning trend between 2012 and 2016 in the number of student dropout rates in 3 different high schools. These researchers were able to identify several causes for the performance gaps using human performance technology. They then developed interventions tailored to meet each school's specific needs. School A received an intervention to improve modern teaching methods. Schools B and C, however, received an intervention to apply modern methods of teaching. So you can see from this study that human performance technology was used to identify performance gaps and then to identify specific interventions that could be put into place that might not necessarily rely on additional training. In another study, this researcher looked at the University of West Florida. In the development of a distance education program for military students, the University of West Florida employed human performance technology to incorporate input from key stakeholders into the design of the program. The result, it was a program that included personal digital assistants, PDAs, that were given to military students who were going to be deployed to areas where there was unreliable or no internet access available. These students were then able to complete their course material on the personal digital assistant while they were away on their deployment. When they returned back to the United States, they turned the personal digital assistant into the college where the professor received it, received the content, graded it, and issued a grade to the student. This program proved to be very successful for many years and kept military students who previously had higher rates of dropout associated with deployment, kept them in the program and enabled them to complete the program. Consistent with good human performance technology, as access to the internet improved around the globe, the PDA program was phased out at the University of West Florida. So the program is no longer in existence, but it is a great example of the use of human performance technology to specifically address the needs of online distance learners. These studies that we've just reviewed from the University of West Florida and the high schools in Afghanistan demonstrate that human performance technology can be used effectively to identify performance issues and to select appropriate interventions in learning environments in high schools and in higher education, and specifically for distance learners. One of the substantial benefits of using human performance technology in the learning environment is the front-end analysis, which may lead to selection of an intervention that does not necessarily mean additional training for the students or for the faculty. It's important to recognize that additional training is not always the appropriate intervention for a performance issue identified in a learning environment. It's almost impossible these days to talk about online learning without talking about educational technology. Educational technology is the study and ethical practice of facilitating learning and improving performance by creating, using, and managing appropriate technological processes and resources that are available to us today. It's important to understand that the term technology, however, it does not always infer machinery or computers. It could refer to any practice, any instrument, or any tool that's used to solve a problem. Educational technology refers to any resources and processes used to facilitate the acquisition of knowledge. Human performance and educational technology can work very well together to achieve a desired human performance outcome. The nature of the relationship between human performance technology and educational technology is one that this author believes is mutually beneficial. It may appear that the educational technology is subordinate to human performance technology, but I don't really see it that way. I believe there's a very clear mutual beneficial relationship between the two. While doing the research for this paper, I looked into current uses of human performance technology along with educational technology. A case study written by Chung and Chung in 2018 took a look at how the hospitality group used human performance technology in tandem with educational technology to elevate a 5-star hotel to the next level, which is that of a designer hotel. In order to include all employees in this transformational process and to elevate the level of satisfaction and service provided by the employees, they used a novel educational technology that they had designed called Service DNA. So Service DNA is the educational technology owned by the hospitality group. However, in this particular instance, to transform the Miraway Hotel, they modified the educational technology Service DNA to something that they called Miraway. The Miraway was specifically designed to train and provide tools for the employees at the Miraway Hotel to help them elevate the level of service that they were providing for their customers and clients. These tools taught their employees how every single communication with a guest mattered and needed to be completed with confidence and in a pleasing manner so that guests felt valued and special. The proper training and support that they received is the type of training and support that is needed to transfer additional knowledge and skills to employees and elevate a great business model, a 5-star hotel, to that of the next level, a designer hotel. The Miraway program also relied on subject matter experts. They used subject matter experts from departments such as the front desk, housekeeping, and food and beverage to help implement the education and help inform the education. So this was a great example of using human performance technology and educational technology in tandem to elevate the performance of humans at the Miraway Hotel. Another example of human performance technology and educational technology in use today is a study of the nursing education model. In their cross-field practice model analysis of nursing practice and human performance technology, Zaborski mapped out the human performance technology process against the nursing education process. They were looking to identify educational technology that could transfer to and from these two disparate fields for possible mutual benefit. Tools identified could be employed to better educate nurses and human performance technology professionals. Nursing, like human performance technology, is a deliberate practice. Student nurses are educated to assess, diagnose, identify, and plan appropriate patient outcomes. They're also taught to evaluate progress in a rigorous education program prior to earning their credentials. the parallels to human performance technology are very clear. Hopper and Zaborski demonstrated in their research that both the nursing and the human performance technology processes embodied the same essential steps in a series, and that both fields could learn from each other. These researchers were able to identify wisdom and practices that could be used by both fields to ultimately improve human performance outcomes. In another article reviewed for this research, Saravant and Piraswamy in 2019 used human performance technology to develop a model for a virtual community of practice, a VCOP. A VCOP is a group of informal learners. This is a group of people who come together online virtually with the goal of sharing knowledge, developing knowledge to develop and better themselves and their industry. It's a legitimate peripheral type of learning that is not associated with any sort of a certification or a degree or continued education. Successful virtual communities of professionals, VCOPs, use technology and educational technology to reduce the spatial and temporal distances between these remote members and to promote general goals of sharing knowledge and learning. They're also trying to promote member development. The VCOP that these researchers studied was using the Workplace by Facebook as their educational technology of choice. These researchers identified by using HPT that the main challenge that the VCOP faced was maintaining momentum. To maintain momentum of remote members in an online community with the goal of promoting learning and sharing knowledge that's not tied to any sort of credential or CE credit, they had a challenge there. And what they identified is that the VCOPs need to find and position qualified facilitators for each group. They need to integrate space where the members can share problems and hear answers. And they also need to identify subject matter experts who they can position to help answer questions and keep the momentum going. These studies that we've reviewed, the Miraway, the nursing education model, and the VCOP model, demonstrate the nature of the relationship between educational technology and human performance technology. They demonstrate that there's a mutually beneficial relationship between these two. It's important to recognize that educational technology is not subordinate to HPT. Educational technology may be employed as an intervention to further the goal of human performance technology as a result of a thorough performance gap analysis. Used together in tandem, education technology and human performance technology are two complementary technologies that create a powerful force that can promote the planned improvement of human performance. Now that we understand better the relationship between educational technology and human performance technology, let's take a look at two models in use specifically to address rates of student retention. First, we'll start with the Berg and Wang model, a model for sustainable student retention with special detail for online learners was researched and developed in 2004 by Berg and Wang. This model takes into account institutional, personal, and circumstantial factors individually and in combination. The model can be used to implement interventions at the student level, faculty level, program level, department level, or at the institutional level. This model is based upon the student's continual cost-benefit analysis of all of the factors that result from perceived opportunity, stress, responsibility, and satisfaction within the educational context. The framework that these researchers present is positioned to be useful from both the student and the institutional perspective. So this model, the Berg and Wang model, was developed in 2004, and it is widely used to address retention of students in colleges and universities for in-person classes. It is also used specifically to address online attrition rates for college and university students. In addition to the student model developed by Berg and Wang, there's a second model that was created in 2017 that I also reviewed for this paper. We call this the composite model. It was created by Rivera, Puerta, and Igual, and it used annual curricular data to predict dropout, to predict final course grades, and to make informed future course enrollment recommendations for students that would align them with a better likelihood for academic success and prevent possible future attrition. These researchers incorporate 5 different classification models and machine learning techniques into their dropout intention prediction model. They collected data from 4,434 undergraduates at the University of Barcelona who were studying math, computer science, or law between the years of 2009 and 2014. The calculated dropout prediction rates from this study are promising. Their classification system resulted in dropout predictions that obtained an F1 score of 82%, 76%, and 61% across the degrees of computer science, law, and mathematics, respectively. Regarding the final grade prediction, their system was able to accurately predict the grade with a mean absolute error of 1.21, 1.32, and 1.34 for the respective degrees of law, computer science, and math. It's important to note that while this study and this composite model looks very promising to address college rates of attrition, it did not specifically differentiate between online and on-campus learners. Other models to predict and reduce dropout have been created. These models incorporate a wide range of variables that might contribute to dropout intention. These variables include, but they're not limited to, previous academic performance, first-year college academic performance, class attendance, highest level of education completed by the student's parents, gender, parent occupation, employment status, and parent job occupation. Berg and Wang posit that without use of a consistent model to measure online learner attrition, statistics may be misleading and comparisons between institutions may be difficult to compute with confidence. Of the models reviewed for this paper, none of them were designed actually using human performance technology or were employing use of human performance technology. When we take a look at student retention and the potential role for human performance technology, it's important to recognize that student retention is driven by multiple factors. There's a need for a consistent model, and human performance technology may be that exact model. The articles that were reviewed for this paper span across industry as well as around the globe. Some of them address formal learners studying to earn or maintain credentials, and others address informal educational needs. This research presented 2 models that have been created to measure and address college student attrition rates. There are many other models that exist that were not reviewed for this paper. The influence of it on attrition of the institutional, personal, and circumstantial factors, individually and in combination, have been frequently noted. Cultural differences have been given less attention, but they should not be discounted. Berg and Wang argue that without use of a consistent model to measure student attrition, the statistics that we're gathering could be misleading, and comparisons between institutions could be difficult to compute with confidence. An additional oversight of these models is the failure to compare attrition rates for the same course offered on the same campus in both a 100% online format and a face-to-face format during the same time by the same professor. Information like that could be very eye-opening and help us identify further where improvements could be made in the class. Such focused study could help further illuminate factors that are contributing to the online learner attrition rates that are so high, and they could be used to help to inform future course design for online courses, as well as instruction methods for online courses. These shortcomings could all be addressed with human performance technology. The track record of success that human performance technology has is proven across industries, including education. Human performance technology could be used to design better models to measure and address online college student attrition rates and to select models for use at various colleges and universities to create a database of more consistent data. The basic psychology that's the foundation of human performance technology positions this to promote better understanding of the circumstantial, personal, and institutional factors, as well as the cultural factors that influence a student's decision to drop an online class or to persist through an online class. Before you can arrive at a true performance solution, you must first determine what kind of problem you have, said Major. I agree with that wholeheartedly, and I sincerely believe that there's a role for human performance technology in identifying performance gap analysis as well as intervention design for online student attrition.